Hey guys, and welcome, and yes, it is that time of the week again. A challenge was called, and Captain Morgan 1170 has answered the cries to battle, leading the force of the Dwarfs here up against Salty Bacon and his mighty Lizardmen flock. Now, the big thing about this entire video, of course, this was a damage value challenge. Every week we are dropping a challenge, which normally goes alongside kills or damage value for a specific unit, and you have to try and get the highest value from whatever I do set. And this week's challenge was indeed the most damage value from a Rune Lord on his mighty anvil. Now, the Rune Lord in general isn't particularly great at the moment in current meta. He's also not particularly great on his gigantic anvil, although the model is fantastic. I'd hate to be one of these little guys, but sitting up on top of here, big magical anvil in front of you, riding to battle, hell yeah, that is what I'm all about. But the Rune Lord isn't really a melee combatant, he is far more of a support character, so getting damage value on him is going to be pretty tough. So we'll have to see what lovely little schemes that the Dwarf player does have in store for us to try and get as much value as possible. He's come pretty much fully kitted, Master Rune of Negation, as well as Wrath on Ruin and Rune of Oath and Steel. We have the Gatekeeper's Belt for that lovely damage resistance, should certainly keep him fighting a little while longer. We have Forge Fire, Master Rune of Grungy as well, and a Locus of Power, all good fun stuff. In the central core of this Dwarvish build, we do have double Grudge Thrower and a front line of Longbeards, hardy folk who should be able to hold back Croxagore, well not Croxagore, well they do okay against Croxagore, but should be able to hold back Saurus and Skink for an incredibly long duration. We also have a ton of Slayers in the back line, 4 it seems, one of which is the Dragonback Slayers, always very good in this matchup, and we have the mighty Felix, who should be able to heal up the Rune Lord by being within his presence, so a good combo here to try and get the most value from the Rune Lord as possible. As for the Lizardmen up in the sky, as naturally in this build, we have a bucket ton of Pterodons, some of which are Fire Leech bowlers as well. Looks like triple Fire Leech, 1 regular. Down in the main contingent, it's also a very interesting build. We have Temple Guard, 1, 2, 3, 4 units of the elite Bad to the Bones warriors wearing the skulls of fallen comrades. They take up their arms and armor and go to war. They of course can be guarding a Slan Mage Priest of Life here, kind of regrowth, Flesh to Stone and Earthblood. We have the cohort of Sotek. We also have a Maxon Barb's Regiment of Renowned Razordon Hunting Packs. These guys were one of the original challenges we did, so good to see them back here in action. And we have a little Skink Chief jogging along on either flank. Pretty bad to the Bones Lizardman build. Temple got an interesting choice here. They are armor piercing, so they do fare a little bit better than the Saurus Warriors and Skinks, but often you'll see Lizardmen players trying to swarm with far more troops, or come with a couple of large entities to buckle up that Dwarvish line as quickly as possible. But at the end of the day, if there's not too much range pressure, which the Grudge Throws are going to be a pain in the butt, but apart from that, Temple Guard should be able to fare relatively well, and there is 4 Pterodons, 2 per Grudge Throw to shut them down, and there is no range support here in the form of Thunderers or any of that goodness. Nice little rock drop has gone down on the Slayers, doing some pretty solid damage straight out of the gate, and now the poor Grudge Throws are the focus of attention. They're going to be whittled down pretty damn quickly by those Fire Leech bowlers. Main battle line is away. The glorious Temple Guard do wield their halberds with age-old art and just fantastic animations, honestly, throughout, twirling those halberds around, slaughtering beard and stalwart DAWI folk alike. Looks like Cold-Blooded has been popped pretty early on one unit. Oh no, Flesh to Stone, plus 60 armor, 145 armor Temple Guard. That is going to hold the line for an absolute age. Imagine some wind effects right here. This would be so powerful. In the back line, Grudge Throws are trying to counter skirmish the Pterodons. I suppose that's the only range he really has. I think I would understand these guys are doomed at this point and just try to focus down the Temple Guard where possible and get some value. Pterodons really could just swoop in here and go into combat if they wanted, but it looks like they're quite happy to finish off the Grudge Throws from the sky. Now, the main man of the hour is, of course, the Rune Lord, darting forward, trying to get value where possible. Going after the coat of Sotek, not a bad idea whatsoever, although, realistically, he wants to be getting after that Slan's booty. The Slan does magic damage, and this Rune Lord is going to be taking basically 0 damage from him, at the same time racking up pretty decent kills. Slayers are starting to start to push forward as well, trying to pass through the Temple Guard lines. You can see, though, the Dwarfs are holding back the enemy rather well, catching a ton of units per unit of Temple Guard, but this is also kind of a downside because the Grudge Throws are now offline. There is no back line to protect, so these guys really need to be whipping around the flanks, trying to use their added numbers to rear charge the Temple Guard. It looks like the Rune Lord has managed to find his ultimate target, the glorious Slan Mage Priest. Pops the Master Rune of Wrath and Rune on him. Yes, the Aura of Quetzal is active, giving him a little bit of a bonus. But the Rune Lord won't mind that too much. He's here for the long grind. We're trying to whittle down the Slan where possible for long range. Maximum Barbs continue to rain in fire from afar. And it looks like they are just going after the big mass of Dwarvish folk. Temple Guard have now managed to wrap around the mountain for the world's longest flank charge, and they do a pretty decent job here, although Master Rune of Negation is active, keeping the Slayers and Longbeards in the action, but a ton of blobbing over on that far side. Pterodons up in the sky have done a really good job forcing off the Grudge Throwers, and it looks like Skink Chiefs as well are there to help support. Slann Mage Priest is desperately trying to dart and run away. There is a Skink Chief here who has Slippery on him, so it's not in his complete cheap state, and he's really not a melee combatant whatsoever. So the Rune Lord, rather angry, going to come in here with his mighty hammer and donk that Skink Chief on the head, who is desperately trying to fight back, but not going to go very well. Not going to go too good there for the Skink Chief whatsoever. Max and Barb's getting dangerously close to the enemy now. It looks like they're very kind of teetering on the flank of these Slayers, trying to get a better line of sight. That can be a bit of a problem with them, where they are now turning and just kind of flapping their gums in the wind, not doing too much there. Although the Kurvsotek are nearly finished at this point as well. Turtle Riders continue to rain fire down from the skies. The Temple Guard blob is slowly coming in for a full surround. All the Dwarfs do go for a bit of a counter punch here. Longbeards trying to hold back the enemy, while the other Temple Guard are dealt the killing blow. Max and Barb's whipping around the flanks now to try and get behind the Dwarvish line so they can rain fire in. Really lovely play there from the Lizardman player. And looks like they are just about going to be able to, once again, kind of struggling with their line of sight because the Slayers and other units are completely surrounded by the wall of Temple Guard. We do have some great weapon Longbeards. They're going to try to sandwich some of the Temple Guard, so surround the surround. Certainly not a bad idea whatsoever. Felix is charging back in with his mighty sword by his side. He's a really fantastic anti-infantry duelist, so he should be able to tear apart the Temple Guard pretty quickly, especially if Deadly Onslaught pops. A lot of these Temple Guard are falling to his mighty cleaving strikes. The Rune Lord continues his hunt for that Slann Mage Priest, going to be getting in there and poking him down where possible. Slann has a bucket ton of health, but this is a rather expensive Slann, so if the Rune Lord can finish him off, that'd be a lot of damage value to help him compete in the challenge. The Dwarf line is starting to buckle, unfortunately. The Slayers, of course, are still going strong, but a lot of the Longbeards have given up and decided to go home. The Temple Guard have just been a little bit too elite for them. Pterodons continue to rain fire down from the skies, but now it's just Slayers holding the line, and you really don't want your Slayers fighting Temple Guard. Yes, they will do okay damage back, but it's really not a cost-effective trade for you, and the Temple Guard are just decapitating Dwarfs left, right, and centre. Over on the far side of the battlefield, the epic duel continues. Slann Mage Priest has been hit by Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin. Despite this, he certainly wants to run away. He's basically doing 0 damage whatsoever to this Rune Lord. We have a little look over here. He has that 25% physical resistance, missile resistance, but 55% damage resistance. And the little dwarfs continue the chase, hunting down that Slann. Ted and Rise up in the sky continue just a pressure to the enemy, although these guys do need to get into combat now. They are out of ammo, and one unit of Longbeards has been dispatched to force away the Imax and Barbs, who are continuing just to run, kite, occasionally turn around and shoot and do some nice damage. They clearly have the pace to outrun those dwarvish folk, particularly when a Skink Chief is also going to be poisoning the Longbeards, slowing them down. Slann has managed to escape by some Pterodons darting in to try and surround the Rune Lord and do some nice poke damage to him. And he'll be able to slaughter these guys, but he's going to be getting held up, allowing the Slann to escape to come back and fight a later date. Longbeards are now surrounded by Pterodons who have used up all their ammunition. When your Pterodons have used their ammunition, you've certainly known they've managed to get some pretty decent value. Flesh to Stone has been popped on these Temple Guard, up to 145 armor. The Longbeards simply can't do a thing against them. Over on the left-hand side, though, Felix has been the man that the Dwarfs need. He is slaughtering Temple Guard, doing a really fantastic job. Up to 38 kills, all of them pretty much Temple Guard. And every swing of his mighty sword, another brave warrior does fall, clobbering that Temple Guard on his side there. Up in the skies, Pterodons need to now start hunting down troops, which are going to be coming back to the fray. No need to go after Slayers, who of course are unbreakable. It looks like the last Slayer has been kited into the Infinity Realm by the Skink Chief, who has managed to get 12 mighty kills and starting to jog back to the battle. Certainly a war of attrition. The Lizardmen look like they are in a favourable position, however. Longbeards being broken all over the field. Temple Guard still going relatively strong, and the Imax and Barbs are once again back online, continuing to rain in shots from afar. And the Rune Lord is taking a long time to take down the Pterodon Riders. He is so bad in combat. It is really funny that we set this challenge. It was a bit of a pain, I'm sure, and it's quite hard to get good value on him. More darts do fling through the skies onto the Longbeards, arcing up and over the Pterodon Riders. Temple Guard are now coming over to the aid of the Slann to try and surround the Rune Lord, who does currently have Helping Hand popped on him, going to be increasing his melee attack by 40. A really cool tactic here to make him actually a damage dealer. 80 melee attack is no joke, particularly up against the weak melee defense of the Slann, and he is getting some big hits in now, actually managing to rake up some really glorious damage. Really nice combination there, Helping Hand coming in from Felix. Really like this pick here. He's now coming in to slice up some of the remainder of the Lizardmen forces, although the Slayers seem to be spent and done, fulfilling their Slayer oaths and going to the halls of Valhalla, or their version of Valhalla, I suppose. And with that, majority of the DAWI build is starting to break and run from the hills. Good chitin potential still left on the Maximum Barbs and Skink Chiefs. There is one pocket of strength in the Longbeards with great weapons, but apart from that is simply the hero core left standing. And in this situation, you want to just go after Felix, game off the field as quickly as possible, and Maximum Barbs will be very effective at that as well. Only 34 kills on these bad boys. Certainly not too bad. Let's see, how much damage value have they got? Nearly 1,000. Yeah, doing some good work. Tenderloins are close to breaking, as well as Temple Guard. Probably a decent amount of friendly fire coming in. The Rune Lord is now taking a ton of darts to the flank. Not enjoying that whatsoever. Also being poisoned. If we have a little look down on the list here, that poison is pretty effective. It's going to be slowing his speed, his armor piercing, weapon damage, all that good stuff. Temple Guard have the Shield of the Old Ones popped on them, however, so they'll be able to clobber down the Rune Lord. And it's quite funny that he's brought so many anti-large Temple Guard. Obviously, he didn't bring them fully bonus versus large, but the fact he has it against the one dwarf unit, which is actually large, is very funny, actually. There's 4 Grim as well, I suppose. Maximum Barbs now going to be cleaning up some of the Longbeards, who are managing to force their way through the Pterodons, cleaving them asunder with mighty axes, and dragging those Ripidactyls, or not Ripidactyls, but Pterodons down from the skies, with some lovely damage, although it looks like the Maximum Barbs will be able to help finish them off, as the Slan decides to move into hand-to-hand combat. And it looks, for the most part, like the Dwarfs are going to falter and lose the battle, but I'm sure Captain Morgan won't mind, as long as his Rune Lord picks up as much Slan value as possible. And he's decided to push towards him. Being slowed down by poison, he's decided to take his vengeance out on the Maximum Barbs, who do have the aura popped on them at the moment, but they can simply kite back when necessary, and he's going to have to slowly chase down the Slan, trying to get a little bit more damage here and there. And those big hammer strikes to the chair will be relatively effective, although there's a lot of very angry Temple Guard nearby. And if there's one thing I know about Lizardmen, Temple Guard do not like it when you attack their Slan. Slan is going to simply pull through his own troops, good micro there by the Lizardman player, and drag the Rune Lord into these pesky Temple Guard, who are also, it seems, getting a heal on them. Oh no, so Earthblood is being popped on the Slan Mage Priest, and yes, some of the Temple Guard and other such units. Poor Rune Lord. Master Rune of Oath and Steel going down, plus 60 armor is going to keep him in the fight a little while longer. Skink Chief continues to pepper down at Longbeards, while Pterodons poke at their eyes, trying to get those through the gaps in their armor. Some of these guys aren't even wearing helmets as well, so they're starting to do a good job against them. And armor losses is getting very close. Rune Lord going down. Helping Hand was popped on him, but Felix isn't the type of character to stand alone. He decides, you know what, leg it out of here, go trek, bring back the big brother, and come back for a vengeance on another day. A valiant defeat, super fun game. I really love the idea of Helping Hand on the Rune Lord to add that melee attack in particular to really try and get the value out of it. And well done to Captain Morgan. He was indeed this week's winner of the challenge of the most damage value formed on a Rune Lord. Really funny game, of course, builds that you normally wouldn't see unless you were trying to do this type of challenge. Rune Lord on his mighty toilet seat, 1,834 damage value, which is pretty solid. Obviously not amazing, but we had people trying this all week, and the Rune Lord just cannot get good damage value. It's a really tough challenge, and he did manage to get 7,253 damage dealt though, which is, you know, relatively impressive. Good target priority as well, going after the Slan. I did think the way to win this challenge was to either take out wizards or artillery pieces, and that is just what he did, and the Slan is a big old fat juicy amount of damage value that you can get hold of. We'll go through the damage value and damage dealt in just a second, but if you guys did enjoy, feel free to hit the big old thumbs up button and subscribe for more Total War Warhammer content. We do drop new content every single day, which is really awesome, and we do some streams. Only one stream this week because it was about 5 hours long, but normally we try to get 2 in, very rarely 3 as well. If you want to support the channel, down below in the description there is a link to my Discord. You can join a really cool community, send me replays, get involved in tournaments and events that I do host as well. You can also join my Patreon, that is a link down there, as well as other ways you can indeed support the channel. Very well played to Captain Morgan and Salty Bacon, some pretty off-meta picks all round. Now, for the Temple Guard, they're not actually as surprisingly off-meta as you'd expect. I do see people occasionally bring 1 or 2 units in, but they do struggle to get that value a lot of the time. However, here, because there was no Thunderers to really kind of drag them down, 1.6k damage value, 1000, 1.7, 855. Certainly no joke, really tore their way through that DAWI front line. I love the pick of the Amaxan Barbs as well, 1535 damage value, 8.6k damage dealt. Nice work by them. And the Terran Rise up in the skies all getting really lovely value. 1.5 here, 900, 1.4, 800, and even the little Skin Chiefs managed to get in the action. One of them probably not quite paying for himself, unfortunately, with 320. The other one, 524, and that poison's always handy. Solar Mage Priest, of course, is there for the healing and spent most of the time running away. Good idea by Captain Morgan with the build. Of course, it's all just funneling in to try and allow the Rune Lord to win the challenge. And Felix is a really nice counterpart to him. 989 damage value. Longbeards across the board really did struggle, as well as the Longbeards with great weapons. But that's because they were simply outclassed by the elite Dino infantry. Slayers as well, not too many good targets for them. They are a necessity here. You have to bring them pretty much in case your opponent is going to go, you know, double Ancient Stegodon, something like that, which can really buckle your lines. Or as is the meta, a bucket ton of Kroxigor. Fortunately, the Grudge Throws had absolutely nothing to protect them. I'd have probably cut them from this build simply because you're not really kind of trying to protect the back line too much. No Thunderers or anything to help support these guys, and you're always going to see Pterodons in this matchup, pretty much free guaranteed. So without any support, aerial support or support ground to air, which can shoot down the Pterodon Riders, the Grudge Throws simply aren't going to be really too viable here. So I'd probably cut maybe one and add in a couple of units of Thunderers or Quarrelers even. Certainly could have done the job. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed. Until next time, peace, peace. And as always, stay awesome.